Sartak, would you start with this slide, please?
Yes, ma'am. New Zealand is an island country in the southwestern Pacific Ocean. It lies east of Australia and south of the islands of New Caledonia, Fiji, and Tonga, and consists of two main islands, the North Island and the South Island, and over 700 smaller islands. It is the sixth largest island country by area. Earthquakes and volcanoes eruptions form the sharp mountain peaks of New Zealand.
You can see it way down there in the lower right-hand corner. Okay, next slide. Mana, your turn.
Yes, ma'am. The inside on New Zealand.
Mana, the second word is islands. It's got a silent S. So can you start there at the top again?
The island on New Zealand were the last larger habitable land to be settled by human. Habitable means the land is able to support life availability of liquid water in one of the most important factors in determine whether an area is habitable.
Manav, look at that word again. Sound it out. You almost had it. The first word on the fifth line.
Determining.
You got it. You got it. Whether an area is habitable. Will you go on to the next paragraph, please, Manav?
Hello.
Okay. It is believed that about 1,000 years ago, people traveled by canoe from an island or group of land in the South Pacific Ocean to settle the land. The would become New Zealand. The settlers developed a
distinctive
mayor
Maori culture.
Maori culture that includes similarity with the language and
culture
and southern
culture of people.
No sir, of people that inhabit other island where it is island in the country and southern Pacific Ocean, including the cooked land, avail and Tahiti.
Tahiti, good. That had a lot of words that are probably new to you, but I appreciate you doing a great job sounding them out. Let me read that paragraph, and students, please follow along so you can listen to the pronunciation for some words you might not know. It is believed that about 1,000 years ago, people traveled by canoe from an island or group of islands in the South Pacific Ocean to settle the islands that would become New Zealand. The settlers developed a distinctive Maori culture that includes similarities with the language and culture of people that inhabit the other islands in the Central and Southern Pacific Ocean, including the Cook Islands, Hawaii, and Tahiti. So let's look at a couple of those words. Again, one that's used quite often in this paragraph is the word island, I-S-L-A-N-D. I am not sure why they put that S in there because the S is silent. I grew up on an island, so I'm quite used to the word, but it is difficult because it has that S and we don't say the S. So the word is island. In the third line towards the end is the word settle, settle. That means settling, and then further on we have the word settlers. Settle or settlers are people that came and created their own community. So they settled or they created their homeland on these islands that would later on be called New Zealand. Distinctive Maori culture. Distinctive means it's special. It's not like anything else. So we could say that every single human being is distinctive because there's no human beings that are exactly like. I have an identical twin sister, but we are still not exactly alike. So we are distinctive. Okay. And we're going to learn about the Maori culture. The Maori people are those people that came 1,000 years ago to settle the islands that later became known as New Zealand. So they would be called indigenous or native people, the first people to settle that island. That's the Maori people. And this carving to the left is one of the Maori carvings. Similarities, that means things that are similar, things that are the same. And inhabit is meaning that's where they live. So they're talking about people that inhabit or live in other islands that are around New Zealand. Cook Islands, Hawaii, and Tahiti. I've been to Hawaii, I've been to Tahiti, but I've never been to the Cook Islands. Okay. Does that help when I read afterwards?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
Okay. Would it be better if I read beforehand?
No, ma'am. I think we should give them a trial first. And when they do the
Okay.
mistake, then we can.
Okay.
Or as
All
per
right.
your wish, whatever you think.
I agree with you, but I wanted to throw out that opportunity. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go to the next slide.
Wow. This is that canoe, I think.
Yes, and it was so hard to get the whole thing in the picture.
Wow. Yeah, so long it is, so long.
Yep. Okay, Sartak, your turn.
Yes, ma'am. This is a replica of a double-hulled canoe. This like those the Maori used to migrate to New Zealand from across the Pacific Ocean. The canoe is 60 feet long and can hold up to 30 people. Although some canoes were most 100 feet long and could hold 100 warriors. To build a canoe the size of 60-foot replica, a totora tree about 1,500 minus 2,000 years old would be needed. The Maori used the trunks of these trees because they grow straight, are big, light, and road resistance. Maori also used this wood for carving. Many totora carvings decorate the central meeting grounds and buildings that are so important in the culture of the native people.
Thank you. That was great. Let me read it now. I think I'll just do this after every paragraph. And that doesn't mean that you did a bad job reading. It just means I'm going to read it and so everybody can see exactly how to pronounce all the words. This is a replica of a double-hulled canoe. Double-hulled, of course, means that there's two sides of it that are held together. Like those the Maori used to migrate to New Zealand from across the Pacific Ocean. This canoe is 60 feet long and can hold up to 30 people, although some canoes were almost 100 feet long and could hold 100 warriors. To build a canoe the size of the 60-foot replica, a totara tree about 1,500 to 2,000 years old would be needed. Let me stop right there. When you see numbers like that, when you're reading English, where it has that little dash in the middle, that dash, of course, is used as the minus sign when we're talking about arithmetic. But when we're talking about dates, it's almost like the word two. So we could say the totara tree about 1,500 to 2,000 years old. Does that make sense? So that little dash means it's in that range from 1,500 to 2,000, somewhere in there. That's how old the trees would have to be. Okay, so it's not a minus sign in that use. Yes?
Ma'am, this boat is there. Then it is in south side. I saw they are making like these boats, and in that 10 people are there, 10 or 15 or something year 15. They have to make their own boat, and they have to design that boat like this. In this picture, it is designed from front. They have to design like that, and they have to make their own flag, and they have to put their on their boats, and they are doing racings. There are more 10 boats, 10 or 20 boats are there like this, and like these big boats in that 50 20 people are there, and they are doing racings in south side so many times, and for they will win. They're winning the race. Then they have to do, I don't know what they get. I think they get some money, and they get trophies and that, and means they have to do lot of, means since 2 or 3 months before 2 or 3 months they have to do the practices. They have to make their own wood board, and where they have to paint the full that boat also, and they have to make their own designs and their own that tattoos and that on the boat.
Wow, that sounds like a really interesting activity.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that near where you live?
No, it is in south side, ma'am. South.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, let's see. The Maori used the trunks of these trees. Well, first off, just imagine they had to use a tree that was 1,500 to 2,000 years old. Today, it would probably be extremely hard to find a tree that old, because most of the trees have been cut down to use for building or firewood or whatever. So it's very possible there would be no way to build a canoe this large anymore, because there probably aren't that many trees that are that old and that big. That's very sad, I think. The Maori use the trunks of these trees because they grow straight, are big, light, and rot resistant. Do you know what I mean by rot? Is that a word you know, rot? Rot is when something, oh dear, how do I describe it? Rot is like in an old tree, since we're talking about trees, if you have an old tree that has been cut down or it falls down, and over many, many years, other little plants grow in it, and the tree eventually breaks down, and it's not a hard tree anymore. It can get kind of crumbly. That's because it is rotted. Rotting is when anything decomposes.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Some things which are made of some iron, suppose, after getting that rust, the things start getting rotten. Like some vehicles, if they are dumped somewhere for longer time, so the vehicles also getting rotten, like they're getting so much rust on it, and then the iron and everything with the color will be destroyed, and the vehicle will get destroyed.
It's breaking down, yes.
Yes,
Or I guess
breaking
you
down.
could say just like a piece of rotten fruit. Like
Yes,
if you leave a banana on
yes.
your
Even
countertop
food
for
also, yes.
4 weeks, it'll rot. It'll
Yes.
just start getting yellow and then brown and then maybe
It's-
moldy. That's rotting.
Means it is not able to be eatable now.
Right.
We can't eat it again.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Maori also use this wood for carving. Many totara carvings decorate the central meeting grounds and buildings that are so important to the culture of the native people. Do you know the word culture? A people's culture is all of the customs and the language and the history that makes them who they are.
Yeah.
So folks living in India who are native to India have a culture that you grow up with. And of course, the culture is different in different parts of India. The parts I was in on my travels up in northern India, they have a different culture than you would have in your areas because you're in a different part of the country. So things probably hundreds and thousands of years ago developed differently. So you have a different culture. I have a different culture living in America because living in America, I have different history, different native language than you would have. So the culture is all the things that make a community of people, and not just a town, but could be a country or a whole region of people. It's the things that bring them together and make them similar. Okay.
Yeah.
Can go on to the next slide. Okay.
New Zealand capital city. Ma'am, can I?
Wellington.
Sound it out. You can get it. Sound it out, Manav.
When we are still at the southern type of the Northland, New Zealand's most popular city is Auckland, right?
Auckland, yes.
Auckland.
Auckland is on the northern end on the Northland. Ma'am, second paragraph also.
Yeah, don't forget that word is island. You do not say the S in island. Yes, please do the second paragraph as well.
Today, the majority of New Zealand population of 5.1 million is of European distance. The indigenous more are the largest minority official minority offered by Assam and
Followed by
Assam and
Asians.
uh, Assam and Asia land. The official largest of New Zealand are English, moral and New Zealand's in languages with English being
Dominant.
Okay, let me read this now and follow along, please. New Zealand's capital city, Wellington, sits at the southern tip of the North Island. New Zealand's most populous city, Auckland, is on the northern end of the North Island. So populous, of course, means has the most population. Today, the majority of New Zealand's population of 5.1 million is of European descent. That means they came from their ancestors came from Europe. So most of the people that live in New Zealand, their ancestors, grandparents, great-grandparents, etc., came from European countries. The indigenous Maori are the largest minority, followed by Asians, people from Asia, and Pacific Islanders, meaning people from the other islands surrounding them. That word indigenous, the first word in the third line there, means that they're native to that area. So the Maori were the first known people to live on the islands called New Zealand. So they're indigenous. I know in Canada, they call the people that were first living in Canada, they call them First Nations people. So that would be the same as indigenous. In America, we say Native Americans. So just different terms for the people who were first on settling in those areas. The official languages of New Zealand are English, Maori, and New Zealand Sign Language, with English being dominant. Dominant means the one that's used most often. We hear that word dominant a lot when we talk about how we write, if we're right-handed or left-handed. I'm right-handed, I use my right hand to write and to eat. So that means I'm dominant on the right side. I thought this was really English, really interesting because their official languages are English and Maori, which I think it's really nice that they celebrate the contributions of the Maori people, even though the European people came and kind of took over their lands, but they still celebrate the importance of the Maori people, but also that they have an official language that's sign language. I have never heard of a country that has do you know what that means by sign language? Students, do you know that term, sign language? It's for when people can't hear, people that are deaf, so they can't hear people talking. So sign language is when people learn to use different
Gestures.
different ways of using their fingers to spell out words. Sir, can you say it in a better way?
Yeah, like you can say through different gestures, they are trying to pass the messages to others.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you see a nationally televised, at least here in America, when you see a nationally televised sporting event or our president is speaking on TV, there'll be a person standing off to the side and there will be a camera on that person also, and they will be making gestures with their hands so that people that can't hear know what the speaker is saying, like what our president is saying.
Especially the people who are deaf, who cannot listen, for them,
Yes.
just through signs. If you want, I can show it on the net. If you want, I can show that sign language.
Okay.
Just a minute.
I just think that's very, very good for a country to recognize how important it is that people who are deaf or hard of hearing have an official language.
Yeah, like this.
This is men's favorite mini shaver in 2023. The steel sheet imported from.
Hey signers, welcome to Learn How to Sign. Today you are going to learn how to sign conversational signs. These are ones that you'll want to keep handy to carry on a conversation in American Sign Language. There are actually over 50 signs that I have gathered for this topic, so we're going to break them down into 2 videos. In part 1, we'll focus on feelings, attention, and clarification signs, and be notified. Busy. Busy. Now, if you're really busy, you go to show you're really busy. Busy. Sleepy. Sleepy. It's like your head is nodding off. Sleepy. Tired. Tired. It's showing your body slumped over when you're tired. Tired. Sick. Sick. When people get sick, it's typically with their head and their stomach. Sick. Sad. sad. Your hands are bringing your sadness down. Sad. Scared or afraid or terrified. You're putting your body in like you're hiding yourself away. Scared. Mad or angry. Your hand is coming in, showing how your face is mad or angry. Mad or angry. Confused or confused. You're pointing to your head and showing that something's messed up. Confused. Confused. Nothing much. Your O hands are shaking back and forth.
Yeah. So now I think it is clear. Yeah, I think it is clear now.
Yes. So the New Zealand government has recognized that it's important, that that's an official language for their country. So I think that's really, really nice. Okay. So you can see most people live on the North Island, even though it's smaller. So, okay, next slide, please. Sartak there?
Yeah, Sarthak.
Yes, yes, sir.
Would you read the first paragraph, please?
Yes, ma'am. In 1642, a Dutch explorer became the first European to see and make a record of New Zealand. But it was the British who made New Zealand part of their empire after a British explorer mapped the coastline in 1769. In 1840, Maori chiefs and representatives of the United Kingdom signed a treaty and New Zealand became a colony with the British Empire. Over time, large amounts of Maori land were seized by the British government. New Zealand gained independence in 1947, but as a member of Commonwealth retains the British monarch as head of state. The flag of New Zealand is based on a blue British flag, a blue field with the Union Jack in the top left-hand corner to recognize New Zealand's historical foundations as a former British colony, to which has been added 4 red stars centered